All right. Peace and greetings, YouTubers. So, the 2022 Billboard Music Awards. Let me just say, one, I appreciate the fact that the award show ended on time. All right? You know, I'm not big on a lot of award shows, and to be honest, the only award show I really check for is the Soul Train Awards because that's where the real singers go. But, you know, and sometimes the BT Awards if they have some decent performances. And so, like, the AMAs, Billboard Music Awards, Grammys, I kind of be side-eyeing because a lot of times, sometimes I'll be honest, it's like torture to sit through when them award shows are 2 and 3 hours long and you only really are entertained by a handful of the acts. But I think tonight's award show actually was somewhat decent. They had a good balance of different genres, and I thought they had a decent balance of kind of the seasoned vets and a lot of the newer acts and some of the current acts as well. And so look, whoever was behind the scenes with the clipboard and the headset and the walkie-talkies making sure everything flowed, give them a raise. Because look, I looked at the TV, it was 11:04 p.m. They were like, thank you, good night, thank you for watching. I was like, man, for a live award show, this is probably the closest I've seen one actually end on time. You know, just about 4 minutes over. Because sometimes you be up all night watching the stuff. So good for them. Anyway, let's get into some of the performances. And one thing I'll say, I have made my peace with the fact that I am not the target audience for a lot of these award shows anymore. Because half the time, I barely know who half the people are. And even if I know who the people are, I haven't heard half the songs that are being performed. Just because I'm not the target demo anymore. And I've made my peace with that. It comes with time. But they had Diddy host the award show. I thought he was a decent host. He was feeling him. Diddy was running around there like he was, you know, just saving the world, and he's done so much. But I'll give him his kudos for doing somewhat all right. But it was cool for what it was. The opening performance he had was pretty dope as far as like the nostalgia that came with it. It was kind of dope to see Tiana Taylor. It would have been cooler to see Kelly Price actually come out when he did More Money, More Problems, since she's the one that sang on it. But I do like Tiana Taylor, and I wish she would have caught on a bit more as far as in the music industry because she's very talented. But, you know, to each his own. The industry has its own little loopholes. And so, you know, it was dope to see her. I want to say Bryson Tiller was in the first portion of the performance, but like I missed like the first 2 minutes and about 6 seconds of the award show. So I think that was Bryson Tiller. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, forgive me. But, you know, and then they also had Jack Harlow in the performance. And so with Jack, y'all give him a lot. I'm sorry. He's all right, but he's not really somebody I'm into. And I think it didn't help after I saw that interview with him not knowing who Brandy was. I'm like, see, y'all let everybody into all these spaces and they don't even have to research or anything. And not only do they get to come into the spaces, they get a front seat and red carpet rollout and get all the accolades without the work. That's all I'm saying. I just be noticing. That's all I'm saying. Y'all give a lot of these folks a whole lot for doing the bare minimum. But anyway, so y'all enjoy that one. But I thought that opening performance was decent. Let me see. Silk Sonic performed, and they performed their rendition of Confunction's Love's Train. And it was interesting because I remember when I read that they had done the song Love's Train. At first, I thought people were saying they did the OJ's Love Train. You know, the people all over the world join hands song. I was like, oh, interesting. And I was like, okay, at some point I'll get back to it. So tonight was actually my first time actually hearing their rendition of Love's Train. I know it's been out for like a month and some change. I just hadn't got around to listening to it. And so I think the rendition is actually fairly decent. You know, Bruno, I'll give him his kudos. I'll be having my 2 cents on a few things, but I think vocally Bruno is always going to deliver. You know what I mean? And Anderson .Paak is one of my favorite entertainers that's out at the moment, along with other acts like Duckworth and a few other folks. But I will give Silk Sonic the fact that they know how to stick to a theme when they release their project, as far as the showmanship and the costuming and wardrobe and the live band. I know they will always have a live band, which I appreciate because both Bruno and Anderson .Paak are musicians in addition to being singers. And so I thought they had a very decent performance. And like I said, I thought that their rendition was an okay rendition. Like, I love a lot of those throwback songs because it just reminds me of like being a child, and those were the songs my father was playing. So stuff from Confunction and the Detroit Spinners and the Staple Singers and the Brothers Johnson and the OJs and, you know, all Delphonics and the Manhattans, all these different groups from back in the day. And so it's always nice to kind of hear an appreciation for a specific sound in a specific era in time. You know, it's dope to ensure that up-and-coming generations don't try to wash away and pretend that what happened in the past wasn't relevant to what we're doing today. Because honestly, you know, when we want to talk about talent and really the artists that are actually shining, it's the artists that have taken a page out of what the legends and the seasoned vets have already done before, as opposed to the ones who you can always tell when artists are not researched or they haven't been really prepped really well, or they've just been put out there to be famous, and the musicality's not there, the talent is questionable, and you know, most of their claim to fame is what it is they're doing on social media. But that's just me sounding like a hater, but that's how I feel about a lot of stuff. This, I think it was Raul Alejandro. Listen, I'll be honest, I'd never heard of him, to be honest. And so I was like, let me give him a chance. And so I think he's not somebody that I'm going to specifically go out and party and turn up to and play when I'm cleaning the house and driving to work. However, I did appreciate the fact that when it came to his live performance, of course, there was some really great showmanship. You know what I mean? He had the little footworking thing. I don't know if his mic was on. It sounded like the CD was just playing. But I can understand why what he does connects with the audience that consumes it and that really likes it. And so I was like, all right, interesting. I just appreciated the fact that it was a little bit different. Because like I said, a lot of people just suck at performing now. They just stand on the stage. They don't be doing a whole lot. And so it seems like there's been a conscious effort for a lot of these entertainers to try to do a bit more on stage. Because, man, we've gone through some dark ages where you had a lot of non-performing performers on stage taking up a lot of time. Florence and the Machine performed. I want to hear the studio version. I haven't really heard that song like that, but I want to say that she was under the note for the whole performance. And I think that has to do with the fact that the sound seemed to be off the entire night. Like, a lot of people's sound was really messed up a lot of times. You either couldn't hear people, or you only could like hear the backing track but not them while they were trying to sing over it or rap over it. And so I wonder if she could hear herself. And normally, when there's performances that I'm not too crazy over, I at least try to gas up the staging. You know, I always reference Aretha Franklin's interview when they asked her about all the different entertainers, and when she got to Taylor Swift, you know, she did the, great gowns, beautiful gowns. I always say, you know, great stage, beautiful stage. But the staging was just some light bulbs, so I can't even gas up the stage with this one. So I think I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to the studio version and kind of hear what was intended. She didn't sound bad. It just sounded a little off to me, but her energy was high, so I'll give her that. Elle King and Miranda Lambert. I'm familiar with Miranda Lambert. I'm not really that familiar with Elle King, but I did like the song that they performed. I appreciate any kind of song that got some extra and some grit to it. You know what I mean? Like, my ears need like that stimulation. Sometimes a lot of acts come out with some very mellow, boring type stuff that just it don't do nothing for me. So anytime I hear something with a little extra kick and some oomph to it, I'm like, all right, cool. And so I think I'm gonna go back and listen to the studio version of that song as well. And I think what drew me to the song is because I've been paying attention to a lot of different genres, but like, I've noticed in country, and I've said it on a few videos, that for the last few years, a lot of the big commercial country acts, their stuff almost sounds like R&B music, just with like a country little twang to it. And we can be honest, all of this is black music anyway, but there's kind of been a critique within the world of country that, you know, a lot of people feel like country as a genre is losing its specific, what I want to say, authentic essence. You know what I mean? Because now you have a lot of acts that are chasing, you know, streaming success and trying to get on rhythmic radio airplay and cross over to the pop charts. And so a lot of vets in country and diehard country fans feel like, you know, our genre is starting to get watered down. So with this specific song, I like the fact that it sticks to what would be that kind of country music you would have heard in the late 90s, early 2000s. So I thought that was pretty dope. Latto, I'll be honest, I think she had my favorite performance of the night. And I don't even follow her like that. But I think, one, kudos to sticking something all the way out, like sticking it out, because I definitely remember her performing this song on the VMAs last, August or September. So, you know, it's been, you know, close to a year since the song started gaining traction, and they decided to work and push it until it really caught on. I know she has the remix with Mariah, but as far as the performance, like, she came out, I mean, live band, had some costuming, they had some choreography, had some pyrotechnics. I was like, oh, they're actually taking this thing serious. So I was like, pretty dope. My only critique was like the sound was messed up, so you couldn't hear anything she was doing. You could hear the supporting track, but you could not hear her. And when it comes to rappers, you know, you already don't have to sing, you just gotta rap. So it's kind of like the least that they can do is make sure the audio is right as far as the people doing the sound engineering to make sure that the people sound good. But other than that, I think she might have had one of my favorite performances of the night. Like, I enjoyed her energy. And again, it's already a fun song. You know, it has the Tom Tom Club, Genius of Love sample, and a lot of us recognize that sample more so with Mariah Carey, Fantasy. And so, to me, it's a fun song already. And so, I enjoyed the performance. I thought it was dope. So, good for her. Morgan Wallen, F him. We're not even about to talk about that nonsense. Y'all give too many passes to people that do a lot of nonsense, especially when they do racist things, and especially after what we just saw happen in Buffalo. Nah, Morgan, you ain't getting nothing out of me. And then y'all let him do 2 songs on top of that. All right. And Diddy, that's why I had to side eye you, because that was your doing. Anyway, Meg Thee Stallion performed, and again, it goes back to what I was saying with like the showmanship and stuff. It's kind of dope that a lot of the women in rap have really kind of, I want to say, almost raised the bar with when it comes to performing. Like, it's almost a standard now that if you're a woman in rap, you're gonna have to do more than just stand there and rap. So it's like there's an effort to put more in the presentation. And even with Meg's performance, it was a little bit more toned down than Latto's, but Meg's energy was right there, and there's like a confidence that was there while she was on the mic, and it all balanced out, and it still was a good performance. You know what I mean? And I like that you're getting a bit of everything, especially with the women in rap. They're all giving you something a little bit different. And they're all kind of finding their own lanes. And so I always say kudos to the early pioneers in hip-hop who had to go through the trenches and the nonsense that happened in the industry to allow doors to open. So now that we can be in a space where you have all these women in rap who are getting the main stage, who are getting mainstream support, who are household names at this point. Because for a lot of women in rap, it was like a dungeon out here for years where, you know, there's only 1 or 2 or 3 that really could gain traction because the industry just wasn't really supporting any of them. So it's good to see that, you know, a lot of the current acts are able to ride the coattails, but walk through the doors that were open for them, and, you know, drive on the roads that have already been paved, and now they can pave a road for, you know, the up and coming generations that come after them. Dan and Shan performed. I know them because I like their song Tequila. I always thought that was a nice song. I didn't really know this new song, but I thought they sounded good. Like, listen, if you can sing live, I rock with you most of the time, as long as you don't do nothing problematic outside of your music career. And so, yeah, they always have very good live performances every time I see them on anything. So, you know, they're all right with me, all right? I like people that sing from the chest, you know, sing with some conviction. And then this was the pleasant surprise for me. You know, I'm sitting here watching my business, you know, eating my little snacks, and they say Janet Jackson is. I was like, Janet, what? Janet? Listen, if you follow me, you know, listen, I am a member of the Rhythm Nation, okay? I am second lieutenant of the Mid-Atlantic chapter of the Rhythm Nation, all right? I am Jackson 5 Platinum if I ever went Greek. And so, you know, they said Janet. I was like, oh, wait a minute. And so they had Janet Jackson come out to present the Icon Award to Mary J. Blige, which I thought was super dope because Mary is deserving of everything. You know what I mean? Mary, for the longest, never received her flowers, and now she's been getting them for the last few years. So I'm glad, like, people like a Mary or Janet or a lot of the greats that really, you know, have been able to sustain and stay relevant and influence music and influence so many different generations over the last 30, 40 plus years. You know, I love that they're not only giving their flowers to each other, but they're supporting and they're still being, you know, praised. So it was really dope for Mary. I'm glad that she, you know, put her foot down and was like, don't y'all turn that music on me while I'm talking, and everybody had to just sit there and listen to everything that she had to say. Because again, Mary's had a really long journey. I think her catalog is one of those catalogs that's the soundtrack to a lot of people's lives, and depending on when you grew up and where you grew up, you remember those early years. Like, especially, I always say she had a really strong run of about 5 albums. I mean, all the albums are pretty decent, but like that run from What's the 411 to No More Drama, like, just, man. And really for me, my favorite element out of that run is really My Life Through Mary. Like, I think there's some of my favorite Mary songs in those 3 albums. My Life, Share My World, and Mary, like, have some gems. And even with the new album, I absolutely love the song, what's that song called? Love Without the Heartbreak. I absolutely love that song. I think the lyrics are genius. It's a really good album. Y'all should definitely check out Mary's new album. And the fact that she's doing it as an indie artist and is no longer on a major label, like, I'm going to always support the veterans in music, especially those in R&B. Like, there's so many greats that have really been hanging out and still putting out music. Like, people like Stokely from Mint Condition, After 7 has a project out. There's just so many different R&B acts from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s that are still doing it. And so every time they come out with something, I'm ready to support. So yeah, it was good to see Janet. Janet, can you release the tour dates, please? Like, man, I know you're doing Essence. I wasn't trying to go to Essence this year because I didn't really want to see. Well, there weren't a lot of people in there I was pressed to see because I've seen a lot of the people already, and so I was like, man, I don't know if I want to go to New Orleans this summer. Plus, I waited till the last minute, so if I go now, I'm gonna spend a whole lot more money than I wanted to. So, can you drop some tour dates already? And kudos to Janet. I see she's been performing again. Let me see. Travis Scott performed. This was his first performance since everything that took place. I didn't quite understand the performance. And I was thinking maybe it's just not something for me. But to be honest, he's never really been an artist I followed like that to begin with. I was never really into his music anyway. And so I was like, maybe it's just not for you, and that's perfectly fine. So for you Travis fans, maybe in the comment section, y'all can say whether or not you like the performance. But I was a little lost, even visually. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. But I prayed about it to Black Jesus to rebuke whatever they were doing, because I didn't know if they were stirring up spells or something. I was like, hold on a minute. Okay. But, we'll see how that goes as far as him. Machine Gun Kelly. I didn't realize he was that great of a guitarist, so I was like, okay, that was my highlight with his performance. Was I thought it was dope with the guitar piece, as far as the musicianship and being able to be such a good guitarist. I was like, that's really dope. He's somebody I don't really follow like that, but I thought he played a really great guitar, and I thought the performance was cool for what it was. It's just not really. I'm not that into Machine Gun Kelly like that. It's nothing that I dislike. It's just not somebody I follow. You know what I mean? How there's artists that are out there and you don't have smoke for them and you don't even have a dislike, and you just don't follow them. And there's no ill will towards what it is they do. They're just not your kind of entertainer. That's kind of where he stands. Same thing for Becky G, who performed right afterwards. But I will say, she had some really great showmanship with what it was she was doing. Now, I was reading something when they were saying she's not even fluent in Spanish. I was like, okay, look at Selena still having influence. All right. But from what I understand, by the time Selena did pass on, she was pretty much fluent in Spanish at that point. I definitely used to go down the YouTube rabbit hole and be looking at like old interviews and stuff, because I kind of go hard for Selena depending on what day of the week it is, because she was actually really popular when I was a kid in where I lived at. Yeah, Becky G, I thought had a decent performance as far as like what she was doing. Like I said, there was a lot of effort in the staging and a lot of the acts, trying to put on something that makes them stand out, because I think a lot of these newer acts are also hungry for it. And I think we're in a space where it's already harder to break in the industry, because especially with like people in my age bracket that are already kind of set and locked in with who they're gonna like, and different generations that have their own taste in music, it's kind of already hard to win a lot of us over, because we're so picky and just like, oh, I'm unimpressed. I grew up in the era of Michael and Prince and Whitney and Mariah and Janet and all of them, so y'all can do whatever y'all want to do, but it's never going to impress me. Like, we're in that, some of us are in that bucket. And so, with exceptions like a Jasmine Sullivan and others who come out, it's hard to get excited about a lot of new people. And even then, Jasmine's not new. She's pretty much a veteran at this point. But yeah, I thought Becky G was decent. Maxwell performed a tribute to Michael Jackson. He performed Lady of My Life. It was interesting because it seems like Billboard just kind of threw something out there, because it didn't really come off to me as a tribute, because there was really no mention of Michael Jackson like that. It was kind of like, here's the celebration of Thriller, here's Maxwell, let's keep it moving. It was kind of like they were afraid to even say Michael Jackson's name or reference his legacy or anything like that. Industry politics, we know what that's about. And that's funny, because I'm like, his sister was literally in the building. Y'all could have really, if y'all wanted to really do a Michael tribute and everything, y'all could have really restructured how y'all wanted to do that. But it is what it is. I thought Maxwell did decent. I saw the clips from his most recent tour. It looks like it was a really great show to go to. I've seen him 3 times, I think, so I didn't get tickets to this tour, but he also always gives a really good show. And again, he's somebody that is a veteran at this point. So it's good to see people like Maxwell or Mary or Janet or Diddy, these entertainers who are now in their 50s still out here doing it. So good for them. And then Burna Boy closed out the show. And Burna Boy's had a really good 2 years, hasn't he? Like, had a good little run. And then the song that was performed, I thought it was dope that there's the Toni Braxton sample. I was like, okay, all right, look at y'all giving Toni her flowers as well. She's somebody that I think is left under the radar a lot in these conversations. She doesn't get the flowers she deserves. So hopefully people start to appreciate somebody like a Toni Braxton a bit more for her contributions to music. But that was the award. So overall, I thought it was okay. There wasn't anything I was crazy, just disappointed in and didn't like at all, minus them letting Morgan do whatever he did. But I thought everybody pretty much had either a good or a decent performance. And so, I think this was one of the better award shows out of the award shows that I don't normally like to watch in regards to the Grammys, the AMAs, and the Billboard Music Awards. Anyway, share your 2 cents. I'm out. Subscribe.